Hey there, welcome back to another video. We have an exciting one today. We've got a little different than our normal, but before we jump in, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica. We are the Certified Occupational Therapy Assistants with Harkla. And like Rachel said, super fun video today. We're gonna teach you how to make slime and show you 10 fun activities to do with it.
As pediatric occupational therapy assistants, we aren't here to just make slime and let the child play with it.
Although that is a good open-ended play activity.
But we would, like to add on a few more functional skills because we like to kill two birds with one stone as much as possible when we're working on these play-based activities while also addressing some therapy goals. And so we're going to explain our favorite recipes, we're going to explain some therapeutic activities to do with the slime, and we're going to demonstrate.
First things first, when you are making the slime, it's important to have your child do this with you. Following the instructions, measuring out the ingredients, mixing it all up. You're working on a lot of different skills here, and it is a life skill task to be able to follow a recipe and put things together and stay organized. So always include your child in that setup process as well as the cleanup process.
I was gonna say, yes.
The cleanup process as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a hesitation with slime, with parents who are making slime, is they don't want it all over their house. They don't want to have to clean it up. But with that, we want to make sure that we're setting those expectations up front. We have a specific designated location for our slime. We're going to clean up when we're all done, maybe using a visual timer if needed. Set those expectations up, and if the child isn't following them, then be strict with it. If there's slime on the carpet, we have to be all done. We'll try again later.
Totally. The main area that we are targeting with slime is tactile processing. We have to touch the slime, manipulate it with our hands, and getting kind of messy and sticky a little bit. So if your child is a sensory seeker, they might really love this activity. If they're more on the avoidant side, they might not enjoy it as much at first. They might be more hesitant, but all the more reason to do it. Exposure helps their body learn how to process that input.
In addition to the tactile system, we're also incorporating the visual sense. We're working on the somatosensory processing. We're working on some oral motor input as well. So like I said, we're really targeting tons of different things with just one activity, which is slime, which we're really excited to show you.
Let's do it. We are gonna show you a really simple, easy recipe to make slime. You just need 4 ingredients.
Yep. You need some white glue, you need some shaving cream, some baking soda, and contact solution.
There are a lot of other recipes out there, so if you don't have these ingredients or you have the ingredients for a different recipe, that's great. This is just our favorite recipe.
This is like our no-fail recipe that we use in the clinic with clients, and it also works really well for the activities that we're going to show you today.
We will put the recipe, ingredients, and measurements and instructions into the description below, but let's go ahead and make it.
Okay, so we've got our slime. The key here is to add contact solution if it's too sticky, but you really want to get in and work it with your hands. Like you saw me doing, I was squirting the contact solution on Jessica's hands when she first took over. It's really light, it's really foamy, it's just a very delicate, lightweight slime. It's perfect. Our first activity is to take this beautiful slime and stick a straw in it and blow bubbles. Now, this initially will need a little bit of assistance if you have a child who's doing it, and Jessica, you can kind of show how to modify that, but let's just do it and see what happens.
The trick here is to make sure that you provide pressure around where the slime meets the straw to block any of the air going out. You want all of the air to go into the slime. And you can do it on the table. if you're not holding it as well. This activity is great to help kiddos work on oral motor skills. So they're really doing a lot of lip closure and making sure that they are controlling their breath for this. It's a great warm-up activity before eating a meal. So they're warming up their mouth muscles. They're also getting a lot of tactile input, and it's a great fun way to just warm up all those muscles before eating.
You can also put some essential oils in here. This doesn't actually have too strong of a smell.
It's still there. We use the really strong smelling shaving cream.
But you can always add some essential oils like peppermint. Just make sure they're therapeutic grade and they're not going to cause any skin issues. But if a child is sensitive to that olfactory input, you can add those essential oils to help minimize that.
The next activity is to hide small objects in the slime. And we have little marbles here, but you can use coins, Legos, beads, really anything.
You can do like themed slime too, since it's right now it's almost St. Patrick's Day, so we could put food coloring in here and make it green, and we could hide like gold coins in there to make it leprechaun themed and add glitter.
So this is really great for our kiddos to work on their fine motor skills, lots of tactile discrimination to feel the slime and feel the marble, and then those fine motor skills to help pull all the slime off the marble.
Now, going along with our next activity, it really is the same, but we're going to occlude the vision. So we're going to put a blindfold on. We're going to have the child close their eyes to work on that somatosensory processing, the tactile plus the proprioceptive processing to identify what she's taking out. So maybe if we had little letters and she had to remove a letter and then feel what the shape was and tell me, oh, it's a B. So that's a great way to work on those somatosensory skills, and it just makes it a little bit more challenging. The next activity, we're going to work on some more ADL, some activities of daily living. We're going to work on cutting with a fork and a knife and cutting with scissors. So a couple ways that you can do this. You can start by rolling it into a snake, and I'm going to take my fork and knife and just cut as I would food and, pretend to do whatever we need to. Okay, so you can use your fork and your knife. I would recommend putting it on a plate, probably not the table. You can practice using just the fork.
Oh, you don't like that?
Definitely get a fork.
That is a terrible sound.
So anyways, practice cutting with just the fork, and then you can also put it into like a pancake shape and cut it that way. Practice those cutting skills. It's very satisfying.
Very satisfying with the scissors. Yes. That's a good one.
So have fun with that one. Get creative and let your kiddo just go wild with these safe activities.
Next, you're going to use the slime as like a pre-writing activity or handwriting activity. So you're going to have your child make letters or numbers or shapes with the slime. So I'm going to make the letter J for Jessica.
I'm going to make a square and a circle.
Yeah. So it's pretty easy to manipulate and form into those letters and numbers and shapes. And this is really great for those kiddos who struggle with handwriting, struggle with reading. And it's great to practice which direction the lines go. Where do you start? You start at the top and you go down and around. And it's just a great tactile experience, tactile motor experience to help that learning implement more into their memory. And you can use it as a pre-writing, like a before writing activity. So before they do writing a sentence or before they do a math worksheet, you can have them use the slime for it.
Yeah. Research does show that the more kinesthetic we are with our learning, the more kids remember it and recall it, and it actually just sticks in there so much better. All right, the next one, we're going to use this as it is like Play-Doh, and we're going to use some cookie cutters and make some fun shapes. Hopefully this doesn't make another uncomfortable sound for me to process. We're just gonna give it a try.
And then should we pull it away at the edges?
Feel it around. Oh, look at that bilateral coordination.
It worked.
So cool. And then we also have this fun like printed cookie cutter too. We'll just stick in there. You can work on force modulation. Oh, look at that. How fun. So cookie cutters are great. Like we said, the bilateral coordination, working on both hands, the force modulation, knowing how much pressure to use. They just, allow for that imaginative pretend play as well.
It's a really good one if your child's hesitant to touch the slime because they don't have to touch it quite as much when they're using the cookie cutters. So it can be a great way to introduce the slime if they're hesitant, and then they can slowly start touching the slime as they feel more comfortable. The next one is to do some pretend food play with the slime, kind of like what you would normally do with Play-Doh, but with the slime. So what if we make some pancakes? We're gonna take our rolling pin and work on some bilateral integration and force modulation to roll it out. And then maybe we pretend to eat it. And then we use our spatula to get it off the table and flip it over. Ooh. So you can really incorporate the slime into a lot of those pretend food play activities.
Okay, the next one we're going to show you is a great one for building those palmar arches. Again, that bilateral coordination. We're going to take different sized clumps of our slime and we're going to work on rolling it into a ball between our hands. You can go in different directions. It's really hard going in.
Oh, that was
opposite
that's
direction.
really hard.
Yeah. But definitely helpful for kids to learn that force modulation. They're not going to push too hard. It's going to squish together. Build those arches. You can squeeze it afterwards and start over. You can do some sequential finger touching while you're holding onto it. Oof, here we go. Oh, there we go. That's tricky. Oof. Don't let it fall out. That's tricky. But yeah, grab some different sizes. And the fun thing about the slime is it melts when you set it down. So you can roll it and see if you can stack it into a snowman before it melts.
The next one is we're going to add some essential oils and some food coloring. You can actually do this when you are making the slime. You might want some paper towels with this one. And definitely use a plate or a tray of some sort.
Don't let it get on your carpet or your clothes. We are not responsible for damaged or stained items here. No. We're taking that credibility or that liability off of us.
Yes.
Oh, it looks cool. It's like marbled.
So that can be a fun visual component to add to the slime, is to change the color of it, change the scent to add some olfactory inputs.
It smells good.
So
that's pretty.
Try it out. Try it out.
I like it. The last one that we are going to try putting some Orbeez into our slime and see what happens. We have grown our Orbeez a little bit. They started off really small, but we put some water in there. They've grown and
they could be bigger, but
yes, they can definitely be bigger. We're hoping that they might grow inside of the slime. We're gonna experiment and see if that happens. Yeah, it just changes the texture. It changes the visual. It's fun, it's different. Just be very cautious with these. Make sure that they aren't ingested. They can cause a lot of damage internally if your child ingests them, if your pets ingest them. Just use extreme caution with these. 100% supervision at all times. So, yep. Okay, let's see how it works.
We have a lot of Orbeez. We're not going to use them all.
Oh boy. Oh no.
And they do bounce. So just make sure to keep track of them. But this could be another one where
that feels so cool.
This could be another one where you put the Orbeez in the slime and maybe your child has to try to dig them out, and you're working on those fine motor, tactile discrimination skills as well.
Maybe you are just working on counting and they can find them and they can count them, they can touch them.
Sort them by different colors.
You could always lay the slime out and have them ever so carefully put them in and push them down.
That's hard.
A fun texture.
That's hard because they're so small too.
Yeah. Normally they are a little bit bigger, so just keep that in mind.
So lots of fun things that you can do with slime. Now, we don't want to make you think that you have to be doing something very structured with the slime all the time. Slime can be used in just an open, free play as well. Your child can just use it as kind of a tactile fidget. So there's a lot of different ways you can use it.
If your child is hesitant and does not want to touch the slime, my go-to is always to play with the slime myself and not pressure the child to join, but just to play with it and have a good time with it and show how much fun it is. And then if they are interested in participating, I would start with like blowing a bubble in the slime and then see if the child can pop it. So I'm blowing the bubble, I'm touching it, and they just pop it when they're comfortable, pressure-free, and then, lots of positive reinforcement and talking about what it smells like, what it looks like, and not so much focusing on the tactile experience. So keeping in mind that they can wash their hands whenever they'd like to, have a towel nearby so they can wipe their hands off if they're uncomfortable, but just keeping it fun, pressure-free, and just a good time all around.
I was gonna say something you could do is get their favorite small toys. Maybe they love Legos or little figurines, and you can put the items into the slime, kind of just on top like we're doing with these, and then your child has to take them out. And that can be a fun reciprocal play activity to help them engage with the slime if they are hesitant of touching it. When you are done playing with the slime, make sure that you have your child help you clean it up. You can store it in a container with a lid or a Ziploc bag, and we recommend putting it in the fridge because it will last longer.
Generally, I'd say the slime lasts, you could probably use it for a week. If it is in the fridge, it usually lasts longer, but you just want to make sure it's not moldy at all, it's not, growing things, it's just a clean activity. Like we mentioned, make sure you're doing it on like a countertop or a floor where there's no carpet. Make sure sleeves are rolled up and the child isn't using their favorite clothes that it could potentially get on and stain.
Don't leave it out in the heat. So if you're traveling with your slime, make sure you don't leave it in the hot car because that can ruin it.
Yeah.
Those are the main things with it. Don't eat it. We don't recommend eating it.
No,
it's not edible.
Very good. Yeah. All right, so send us your videos of you playing with slime. Tag us on social media. We are at Harkla_family as well as at All Things Sensory Podcast. Let us know if you try these. Let us know if you love them. Make sure you like this video as well.
All right, we will see you next week.
I can do this. Oh, there
Okay,
we
let me
go.
try.
All right. See, have some fun with this. It's just so great.